Hi, my name is Erin Bertoli, and I'm a Board Certified Behavior Analyst with Brett DiNovi Associates. In this video, I will be discussing the role that private events play in our students' lives and how we as behavior analysts can and should address these types of behaviors. Do you work with students that often just shut down or seem to get stuck on issues they're having with peers or at home? Express feelings of frustration or failure? There are schools and homes full of children and teens who struggle with rigidity, stress, and an influx of negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And many behavior analysts avoid addressing these behaviors because they're covert or seem too mentalistic. Skinner made this very clear from the very start. Behavior analysis is supposed to be a comprehensive science of psychology, a comprehensive science of everything organisms do, which include private events. Skinner paved the path for this third wave of behaviorism. Let's start by defining private events. In Skinner's book, Science and Human Behavior, he suggests three things about the nature of private events. 1, thoughts and feelings are, in fact, behavior. 2, behavior that takes place within the skin is distinguished from other public behavior only by its inaccessibility. 3, private events are influenced by or are a function of the same kinds of variables as publicly accessible behavior. Many behavior analysts, such as myself, identify themselves as part of this radical behaviorism, meaning that we acknowledge the presence and potential importance of private events as forms of behavior that are subject to the same environmental control as overt behavior. But how do we do this? How do we analyze private events and facilitate behavior change for these covert behaviors? Mindfulness-based interventions and acceptance and commitment therapy are two technologies that are available to us, and the research is very promising. Even though people in the Eastern world have been practicing mindfulness for thousands of years, it has become increasingly popular in the US, and third-wave behaviorists are all over it. According to hundreds of studies, mindfulness and mindfulness-based interventions have been proven to be effective in strengthening immune functions, increasing attention, memory, and cognition, promoting personal development such as self-compassion, empathy, and perspective-taking, and in decreasing anxiety. And ACT is even more exciting because it's a mindfulness-based intervention that incorporates 5 other processes that in combination work to increase greater psychological flexibility and facilitate socially significant behavior change. ACT was developed in 1982 by Dr. Stephen Hayes, who is a clinical psychologist and faculty member in the PhD program in behavior analysis at the University of Nevada. He is the #1 guy behind relational frame theory and acceptance and commitment therapy, and has authored over 40 books and over 500 scientific articles. According to Dr. Hayes, ACT is part of this third wave of behaviorism. He explains ACT as explicitly contextualistic and is based on a basic experimental analysis of human language and cognition, or relational frame theory. RFT has become one of the most actively researched behavior analytic theories of human behavior. RFT explains why concepts such as cognitive fusion and experiential avoidance are harmful. ACT targets these processes and is producing supporting data both at the process and outcome level. According to Dr. Hayes, psychological flexibility is the ability to contact the present moment more fully as a conscious human being and to change or persist in behavior when doing so serves valued ends. Psychological flexibility is established through 6 core processes, as shown in the hexaflex here. And more studies are being published that continue to support this new functional contextual approach to behaviorism. Still unsure if this stuff is legit? If it's within a BCBA scope of practice? Let's take a look at the BACB task list. Look at all of these areas of the task list, and this is just to name a few. And in terms of the 7 dimensions of ABA, these interventions are supported by research. The interventions have been shown to be effective in promoting more adaptive, flexible behavior, which is very socially significant, and when objectively defined, can be measured and monitored in the same way any other intervention can. To summarize, private events are language-based and can be better understood through relational frame theory and role-governed behavior, in which ACT is rooted. Role-governed behavior is behavior that occurs as a function of the contingencies specified in the role, rather than as a function of direct contact with the environmental contingencies. The effects that overt behavior have on future behavior can be explained both by the direct contingencies in the environment as well as language-based contingencies. However, private events affect future behavior through language-based contingencies, such as relational framing and role-governed behavior, and through ACT-based interventions, which is a behavioral approach to understanding covert verbal behavior in terms of how it functions for an individual in a particular context. We can alter those relational frames to promote more adaptive, flexible behavior. And it may seem quite unclear as to how we would use these concepts with kids to make change. Luckily, there are some brilliant people in our field who have taken these ACT concepts and developed models that are perfect for kids. I will now briefly mention 2 of these models. Further content is being created on each of these models, so stay tuned for more information. The first is the AIM curriculum, developed by Dr. Mark Dixon and Dana Paulunas. The second is the DNAV model, developed by Dr. Luis Hayes and Joseph Ceracchi. It is a contextual behavioral science model, or simply put, a developmental model of ACT for kids. Again, information on both of these models are forthcoming, so if you'd like more information and are interested in helping to disseminate the science, please click the link below and feel free to subscribe. In addition, I would like to specifically acknowledge Dr. Stephen Hayes, Dr. Mark Dixon, Dr. Thomas Szabo, Jonathan Tarbox, Ruth Ann Rayfield, and Evelyn Gold, who among many others have done remarkable work in this area of behavior analysis and who have been so influential in my motivation to incorporate an analysis of private events in my work.